There you go. Scano. Ani. My name's Aaron Bell. I'm back. So the first segment, we just talked a little bit about the history of myself and our company, White Pine Dancers. So now it's time to have a little bit of fun. So when I do storytelling, I have three different curriculums that I work with. I work with kindergarten to grade 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 8, and then of course that's secondary and post-secondary. So with the younger grades, it's more about imagination. Get them to open their eyes and open their heart and open their spirit to look at the world around them in a different way. Between your grades of 4 and 6, it's more historical and what is required by the Ministry of Education in regards to First Nations culture. For grades 7 to 8, it's about self-reliance, self-confidence, because our little ones are going to be moving on into the next stage of their life. Right? And for the high school ones, we all know about the high school ones. The high school ones, they're at the age where they have that imagination. They want to remember being young, but they also want to become an adult. So all three of those curriculum designs work with the high school students and post-secondary. But one thing we're going to talk about, the strength of women. So amongst First Nations culture, women are considered stronger than men. Do you know why girls are considered stronger than men? Because this is all girls do. Talk. Talk, talk. Talk, 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 talk. That's all girls do. If you go to a high school, girls don't go to the washroom by themselves. They travel in packs. Talk, 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 talk. You leave a bunch of girls in one room, it sounds like there's a flock of geese in there. Talk, 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 talk. Which is okay. That is what they're supposed to do. Boys, we don't talk too much. This is how boys talk. We talk like this. We go. And boys are very physical. They always walk with their chests out, with their snouts up. And they're always in competition with one another. I mean, have you ever seen a football game? They're always slapping themselves and bashing themselves in the head and all this other good stuff, right? Another example of what boys do and the difference between boys and girls, if you ask boys in a school if they could run around that school in the hallways without getting in trouble by their teachers to see who's the fastest, what do you think those boys would say? All the boys go, yep. Not even a hesitation. Yep, let's do it. Right? The difference between boys and girls would sit there and go, they would talk about it first. They would go, well, I just got new shoes. I just got my hair done. I just got brand new pants. I don't know whether I'll run today. Right? But that's okay. That's because that's what girls have to do. Girls have that gift of patience. They talk about things. They discuss things before they usually make their decisions. Whereas boys is just point A to point B, get job done, go home. Right? Yeah, boys are very, very competitive. So this is why amongst the Six Nations people anyway, girls are considered stronger than boys. And girls are the ones who chose the chiefs. So you can imagine how the Europeans felt when they arrived over here. Right over in Europe, if you were a girl, you really didn't have too many rights, unless you're part of the monarchy or unless you were rich. Other than that, you're just supposed to stay home. Right? So when the men from Europe came over here and saw a big, huge, 6-foot-tall native man listening to a little old woman, that European immediately thought that we were backwards. And he says, why can't you make any decisions on your own? Why did it take the women 2 days to decide what to do? And why did they speak for you? And the chief would say, well, they're the decision makers. I'm just the speaker. Don't you listen to your women? Right? And right then and there, that was one of the first discrepancies we have with the European nations. Right? Now I have 2 daughters. I have Chelsea and Kira. And when they were very young, just like all little girls and all children, their skills have to be taught to them. And for First Nations people, we teach our children through games, and we also teach our children through stories. So for this story is called The Gift of Patience. And this is when both of my daughters got into various trouble when they were little with their patience. But I remember one of my daughters, she was out in the playground with a whole bunch of boys and they were playing soccer. So my daughter walked up to them and she looked down at the soccer ball and she says, that is a nice soccer ball. And then she cracked him one. And then she picked up the soccer ball and turned around, flipped her head, and came back home. That little boy came running up to my house, tears in his eyes, saying my daughter punched him in the nose, took that soccer ball. So I had to teach my daughter the gift of patience. I had to teach my daughter how to always use her words and never her fists when working with other people. And that's why I introduced her to this game. This game is called Bone and Toggle, because our people are very imaginative with names of things. Bone. Toggle. Bone and Toggle. No, I'm just kidding. It's just Bone and Toggle. Basically, it's a game. You just have to flip back and forth like this, and then up, so it just lands on the stick. Back and forth, and then up, so it just lands on the stick. Just like that. Now, what I did is I told my daughter that she was not allowed to go outside until she got 10 sticks to the bone in a row. And then my daughter did what all daughters know how to do from the moment they're born. All daughters know how to make a certain little noise when they're told to do something they don't want to do. Go do your homework. Go do your chores. Go clean up your room. Every single girl goes like this. Well, this is what my daughter did to me. She was in grade 2. She stood this big. Her big brown eyes looked up into mine and she went... And she said, and only a little girl's voice can only say, she says, Daddy, I'm in grade 2. I should be allowed to do what I want. I should be allowed to have chocolate, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I should be allowed to stay up until midnight on a weeknight. And Daddy, I'm in grade 2. I have needs. I need cell phone. I told my daughter, no, you're not going outside until you get 10 sticks with a bone in a row. Back and forth and then up, so it just lands on the stick. Back and forth and then up, so it just lands on the stick. And then my daughter did what all daughters know how to do from the moment they're born. Even daughters in your homes. All daughters know that there is a certain little look that they can give to their fathers where they know they can get away with pretty much anything. And this look involves sticking out the lower lip and blinking their eyes as fast as they can and saying in only little girl's voice can only say, but Daddy, I promise I'll never ever do it again. Please, Daddy, can I go outside? Please, Daddy, can I go outside? Now, I knew that if I looked at my daughter, I would have to give in. So I'm looking anywhere but at my daughter. My daughter's bouncing around me going, please, 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 Daddy, please, please, please. And I said, no, you're not going outside until you get 10 sticks to the bone in a row. Back and forth and then up, so it just lands on the stick. Back and forth and then up, so it just lands on the stick. And that's when my daughter realized her first 2 tries at getting her own way have failed. She has one last option to choose from. She immediately falls onto her back. Her feet start to kick. Tears start to fly out of her eyes as the temper tantrum ensues. She says, Daddy, 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 right now. Daddy, I want to go outside right now. Daddy, Daddy, right now. Daddy, 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 Daddy. And this is when her mother comes in the room. Her mother comes in the room and she looks at me and she goes, what are you doing? Well, I'm a man. I stuck up my chest. I stuck up my nose. I lowered my voice 3 octaves and I turned to her and I said, I'm teaching our daughter some patience. And her mother looked at me and she went, good luck with that. And she walks right out of the room. And that's when my daughter realized her last chance to get her own way had just walked out that door. Mother was not going to save her. She immediately stopped crying, stood up, and said in only a little girl's voice can only say, fine, give me the game. And she took the game back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then she went, stupid game. Hate this game. I'm in grade 2. If I had a cell phone. But eventually she tried, and eventually she got 1 stick to the bone. And she says, Daddy, look, I got one. And I said to her, good for you. 9 more. And then my daughter went, but eventually, My daughter tried. And eventually she got 3 in a row, but missed the 4th. Has to start all over again. She gets 6 in a row, misses the 7th. Has to start all over again. She gets 9 in a row, but misses the 10th. Has to start all over again. Now, I've been teaching my daughter this game for 2 hours in the front foyer of our home. So I'm condensing the story down for you just a little bit, alright? Eventually my daughter gets number 9, and eventually my daughter gets number 10, and she says, "Daddy, look! I got 10 in a row." And I said to her, "Good for you! Now you can go outside and play. Now you have learned the skill of patience. Now you know to always use your words and never your fist when working with other people. Because if I have any more little boys come to my front door with tears in their eyes, saying you use your fists instead of your words, you know what you're going to have to do." And my daughter says, "Yes, I'm going to have to get 10 sticks with a bone in a row." I said, "No, if this happens again, you will not have to get 10. You'll have to get 40. And ever since that day, my daughter has always had to use her words and never her fist when working with other people. My daughter is no longer in grade 2. Now my daughter is out on her own, living her life and working her own job. But when she was in after school, when she was in university, I still had little boys come to my front door. But they still walked away with tears in their eye. Because my daughter didn't answer the door, I did. This game is called Gift of Patience. Now for all your parents at home, you can make this game for your children. And when your children don't show the gift of patience, maybe you can do the same thing I did. Maybe not 10 in a row, maybe starting with 3 in a row. But all you need is a pencil, fishing line or yarn or thread, 2 key rings, and you have your own bowl and toggle. And then they have to learn how to get this game on to the end. Now there's one thing, like, remember that TV show Family Guy? There was an episode on there where they're talking about ball in the cup. They're singing a song about ball in the cup, ball in the cup, ball in the cup. Well, you know where the pioneers got that idea from? This game and our people. Right? There's a lot of games out there that come from our First Nations culture. Right? So a lot of people think that hockey is Canada's national sport. But in all actuality, it's not. It's lacrosse. Lacrosse is Canada's national sport. Now when I'm in schools, I ask the children, what does lacrosse mean in French? And 95% of them don't know what lacrosse means in French. Even the French students don't know what lacrosse means in French. So I have to look that up and say, la crosse. And then they go, oh, the cross. That's right. That's how the game was called by the French when they first arrived over here. When the French first arrived over here, they did not speak Mohawk, we did not speak French. So when they asked us what this land was called, we didn't understand them. We just said, Ganada, Ganada, which means village. Come back to the village, we'll talk. So the French wrote back to the King of France and said, this land is called Ganada. And that's how Canada got its name from the Mohawk word for village. But they also had black robes, or people from the church. They were the educated ones. They were the only ones who could really write. So they saw our people playing lacrosse, and the way our people play lacrosse is we play lacrosse for like days on end. And it wouldn't be just in a box arena. We play over kilometers, and out in the trees and over the fields. That was how we played lacrosse. But our sticks were always up in the air. And to that French priest, or black robe as they were called, it reminded him of the religious processions they would see in church with the cross going down the center of the aisle. And he saw this game with the sticks up in the air, and he goes, oh, that's the cross game, or lacrosse. To our people, we call it the little brother of war, or the creator's game. Because just like most cultures across the world, there is always a peacemaker, or a speaker that represented God, or Buddha, or whomever else were out there. For our people, his name was Peacemaker. He said, when we get into a fight, don't fight. All you do is you play a healthy game of lacrosse. And that's how a lot of our conflicts were defeated without bloodshed. Although our games were rough, but at least there was no death, right? So that's why we call it the Creator's Game or the Little Brother of War, right? So that was the gift of patience. You now know how to make your own bone and toggle. You know a little bit more about lacrosse. And now we know why girls are considered very important and precious to our people. Just like all women of all cultures should be treated with proper respect and caring. Right? So, there's going to be a few more episodes. So we'll talk to you soon. Ona Gueho. And yeah, we'll see you soon.